particular event came out of a series of discussions of people at the member institutions of the consortium around the fact that Central Massachusetts, the largest economic engine, is workforce development and job opportunities in the healthcare industry, biotechnology, and biomedical research. So we named ourselves the BBHP Group. That's Biomedical Technology, Biomedical Research, and the health professions. So I would like to ask the members of the BBHP Group to stand so that you can see who put this event together from our member institutions. So with my posse, stand up, please. This is probably the easiest group on this planet to work with. There are no egos. I'm very serious, so we get a lot of work done with a minimal amount of effort. When we were thinking about this event, we wondered who could we ask who would be nonpartisan in that they didn't represent a particular point of view, but who really understood what this was all about. And the first name that surfaced was our good friend Kevin O'Sullivan. So at this point, I'm going to turn the program over to Kevin, who will be in charge. So please give our moderator a hand.
This is about the second or third, maybe, program that I participated in. You know, there's an old saying that the world is run by those who show up. And as Ted Coughlin knows, you bring two or more people together, good things can happen. And I think the program today, interfacing education with workforce needs through the biomedical industry, through the healthcare, biotech, and medical devices, and all of the things that are going on in this region. I hope today we'll keep this informal and very educational, and also hear from you. I think it's really important that you listen to what this distinguished panel has to say, because they really are the future of our workforce, and in terms of the changing needs of the region. Who would have thought 10 years ago that we would be sitting here talking about these kinds of industries and jobs? Unfortunately, the manufacturing industry has changed in many, many ways, but we hope to get back into it with what Abbott's doing, or process manufacturing through WPI. There's still a lot of hope there. And also today, I want this to be an uplifting session. I don't want it to be negative, because I think we have a lot to be thankful for and a lot of hope in this region in terms of where we stand. I'd like to start off, we have a group of students from Natick High School. I bet you're right there. Good for you. Stand up. What's your name? Let's give them a big hand. I'm impressed. I really am. You know, it's great to see you all here, because you are the future workforce. Today's graduates being tomorrow's workforce. So thanks for making me. Appreciate it. Okay. I wanted to just share with you just who's with us today, and I'm going to be very strict about time, because I'd like to make sure that we get this back to you. But during the panel presentations, take some notes, and we want to see what kind of the interlocking themes are, and also some of the questions that you might have from people that are in the trenches doing it every day and with a lot of experience to it. So let me just introduce to you our distinguished panel. We have Gene Jackson, who is the Vice President of Workforce Planning through the Baystate Healthcare Health out in Springfield. And Baystate Health is the largest, or the largest health system in the state. It covers all of Springfield West and a large area of that. So welcome. We appreciate you coming here. Lois Schiappa, Human Resources from Cubist. Raise your hand, Lois. There you are. Cubist Pharmaceuticals, a well-known and successful company here in the Commonwealth that has seen great growth and progress. We welcome you. Thank you. Angelique Torres from Genzyme Corporation. Genzyme, as you all know, has just expanded in Framingham and continues to grow here in this state in many, many ways, not just in the research and scientific jobs, but the manufacturing area, which I think is very important to us. We have Susan Windham-Bannister. Susan, who has come with great credentials with the UMASS Life Sciences Center, and I think she has traveled around the state and listened and found out what's going on out here. So her comments today, I think, are going to be very interesting about all the interweaving and the needs that are out there, so we'll work from there. We have Diane Bennett from St. Vincent Hospital. Again, a very large healthcare entity along with UMASS here in the city that is doing very, very well with real technology down there. And a lot of great things happening. And last but not least, we have Pat Webb from UMass Memorial. We appreciate you coming here too. Also, I see Gary Rose at Worcester City Council. Nice of you to take the time to do this.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. I'd like to just add a few comments to start. And I'm going to ask that each of the panelists, we're not going to go longer than 4 or 5 minutes each, right? And I'll keep a tab. Because I want you to kind of come to the point of where you see it out there in educating our audience about where some of the needs are. What are some of the trends? Where should we all be thinking about embarking on workforce training or training our students or moving in that direction so we can fill the needs? So I think that's pretty important if you can answer that question. One of the things that people always ask me, what is the product that we're talking about? And we're talking about, in essence, not cranberries, we're talking about innovation. Innovation brought about brains. So in essence, what we have is brains, always have had brains through all of our schools to produce for this industry and for my industry and for all else. So keep that in mind at all times, that we're producing a brain through the workforce that creates the innovation to drive this economy and to do great things in the healthcare field. Some of the areas that I think are very important, I'm just going to set the stage with a few ideas, just in my own opinion. I'm sure many of you would agree. Math and science is where it's at in terms of our industry. I'm in the biotech and medical device and informatics related. Math and science. And so we need to continue to nurture and grow and encourage those students that want to be there. Primary and secondary education in the life sciences is absolutely essential. Because if you arrive at the doorstep of a college or a university without that primary and secondary education, so it's important that K to 12, not just colleges and universities, K to 16 really, but K to 12, keeping our eyes on that area, which is important. I mentioned manufacturing. It's not gone away, it's just different today. I mentioned process manufacturing. One of the most successful drugs in the country today is being produced right here in Worcester, called UMASS. It's an arthritis drug, 400 manufacturing jobs of associate and high school level, trained to make that drug in a very clean manufacturing setting at Abbott and the Biotech Park. Internships, something we hear more and more about it. We need to continue to emphasize internships. Get students into the laboratories, into the healthcare settings, so they can experience it firsthand, hopefully gain a love and a knowledge and continue to drive them into the field. The emergence of CROs, contract research organizations, little boutique shops that are producing some type of product for the greater whole, a large biotech company or a large pharmaceutical company, maybe doing some work in protein synthesis or in chemical compounds or in sugars. That is the wave of the future, servicing those needs, because those little contract research organizations do it faster, they do it cheaper, and the quality is just as good, if not better. And that's why that's a whole new paradigm for research and development with the big biotechs and with the pharmaceutical companies. One other area that I think is important, multi-skilled workers. A couple of years ago, I had a health and safety officer in MBI who announced to us that it wasn't her job to do a particular thing. I tell this story because it's very real. She doesn't work at MBI anymore. And I don't mean that as a cutthroat thing. I'm sorry, but you need to do about 4 or 5 things today and wear 4 or 5 different hats to be successful. So it's attitude and learning lots of different things, obviously keeping that perspective of a specialty, but then jumping into a variety of things that you can do for the greater good to make it happen. Keep that in mind, teach that, inspire that with your students. The immigration issue, we should be welcoming here. This is not a political statement, this is an important statement to our industry. We are educating too many people who come into this country to get a fine education and letting them leave, either by their visa moving off, or their green card expiring, or not providing them the opportunities. This country is built on not only homegrown talent, but also the immigrants who want to come here, get an education here, and stay here. They're the backbone of what we need to do. So all of us need to continue to let our elected officials and all of our individuals know how important that is to this state in particular. And last but not least, I think it's important that we understand change. Robotics is a new technology. I just met with a fellow the other day, quality control, quality assurance, and data capture and documentation management, the new paperless lab. Things that we never dreamed of. Molecular biology, computer science, all of these things mesh together. Don't be afraid of change, because change is happening around us, especially within the workforce. And I think it's important as college officials here, and I'm being very constructive here, not critical, that you need to always be retooling your curriculums. Just because you have always provided that particular training doesn't necessarily mean it's needed now. Also, don't say, oh, we don't have the money to provide this new training for a particular need. Find it. Get rid of some other area that maybe isn't needed. Change your paradigm, start a new conversation to make sure that you are meeting the workforce needs of the future. We understand you all here as, again, the backbone of what we do. If we don't have you, we are not going to succeed. And one of the prides that we have in this state is that we're able to find that talented workforce, no matter what it is. We operate 34 laboratories with 22 little companies that need incredible talent. We have never not been able to find that intern, that pathologist, whoever that person is, to be able to meet that need. And I hope that's going to continue. So without any further ado, why don't we start with your comments, and I will not be rude, but I will stand and prod people along. We'll move through some discussion, okay?
Sure.
Here we go. Thank you.
So thank you all for inviting me to participate in this. We are neighbors. I'm out in Western Massachusetts. I've actually, myself, this role at Baystate Health as the Vice President of Workforce Planning is a new role. And so 2 years ago, I was recruited and now in this new position at Baystate. And I myself am a transplant, moved from south of Boston, spent my whole life in the Boston area, and now I'm out in Western Mass and understand the actual opportunities and challenges given the different environment in Massachusetts. In any case, when I came on board about 18 months ago, we embarked on a project at Baystate to really look at what our workforce needs are going to be, and went through an analysis and projections as to what we're going to need in the next 10 years. And we currently employ 10,500 employees. There's information in your packages about our facilities. Baystate Medical Center is our largest facility, which is acute care hospital. We're the Western campus of Tufts Medical School. We do a lot of clinical training in all areas, all of the healthcare areas. So we have 10,500 employees spread out all over Franklin County, Hampden County, and Hampshire County. We are projecting in the next 10 years we're going to need to hire 18,500 employees. And through those projections, those were projections that were based on the current age of our workforce, our retirement projections based on prior history. Now we all know that that may change a little bit given the current environment, but we have aging workforce issues. We do retain our employees. It's not that issue of the high turnover, but just knowing what we're going to need as a result of aging workforce issues. There are some conservative growth projections in there. We are going to be embarking on a major building project. The bottom line is we went through a process with our leadership to look at where our critical jobs are, and they're really the shortage area. They're exactly what you spoke about, requiring science, math skills. It's really, there's a big piece of it is skilled labor. We all know about the nursing shortage issues. I won't spend a lot of time. The nurses, physicians, mid-levels are new, utilizing physician assistants and nurse practitioners. All of the allied health occupations, from pharmacists to occupational therapists, physical therapists, even great opportunities with certificate programs, surgical techs. We also took a look at, so we've identified all of what we consider our critical shortage jobs. We also took a look at what are changing jobs, or what new jobs might be created as a result of new technology. And the whole issue of how the electronic medical record, and we are very advanced in terms of, we're actually receiving an award in a few weeks out in Chicago for being one of the most advanced organizations in implementing the electronic medical record. But that has changing work, And for instance, in our clinical engineering department, we had individuals who are clinical engineers who manage the equipment or fix the equipment, but now with the integration of the electronic medical record, you really need people who understand network systems. And so this whole issue of information technology and all of our clinical staff really understanding that, from nurses to other types of clinical staff, that's becoming a critical issue for us. But there are, lots of opportunities for individuals in terms of varied skill sets, from certificate-type programs all the way through MD programs. So where we see some of the challenges, and we are doing what you're doing here today out in Western Mass, and happy Kelly Aiken's here with us from our Regional Employment Board. We got together a group of HR professionals and said we need to really collaborate and bring the academic organizations together with the healthcare organizations and really begin to work together to address these issues. So we're in the process right now of identifying, we know what our numbers look like at Baystate, but all of the healthcare organizations in the community to really look at what are the demand, what types of jobs, and then what are we producing on the academic side. We know in our community colleges, 51% of the kids that are graduating out in our region are with liberal arts degrees, and that they're basically, there aren't jobs for those individuals once they graduate unless they further their education. And so how do we better align the programs to fill the gaps that are in there? And we've begun to talk about what are the challenges with finding faculty, the cost of running some of these programs, and how can we partner together to try to address some of these issues. The issue of diversity, big issue for us out in the Springfield region. We have multiple issues. One is we have a dropout rate of 50% in the high schools. In Springfield and Holyoke, which are the two biggest communities out in our region, so the skills gap is huge. We can find plenty of entry-level job employees, but trying to fill that gap is critical. And Baystate has started 3 years ago funding $750,000 in the vocational school system. We have a relationship with Putnam Vocational School. We have a healthcare career track through the vocational schools. We're doing a lot of work in the schools to try to address that skills gap issue. But the diversity is huge too. There's a large Hispanic, Puerto Rican population out in Springfield, and so we're serving those individuals in our hospitals. And so the issue of really understanding diversity, embracing diversity, teaching and training cultural competence when you're working in a healthcare environment so that people are comfortable dealing with all different cultures and understand cultural differences, cultural norms, and embrace that as a advantage, a competitive advantage, I think, is critical for us. And teaching inclusion and understanding what it means that we include everyone in our organization. And we have a huge commitment to that, but I think from a training perspective, building that into the curriculum, given the diversity of actually the world, we need to be able to do that. The issue of the aging workforce issues, some of the challenges, really being able to deal with different generations is first time in history. There are 4 generations in the workforce. So as we're training kids with their own cultural norms, we need to really be training our older workers and dealing with the younger workers and across there. So I think building that into programs will be critical. And also the issue of clinicals, and you talked a little bit about internships and people having experiences in the environment. We train over 1,200 students in our environment, but I think if we're thinking about expanding capacity, there's only so much capacity in a healthcare environment to actually do on-the-job kinds of training before you max that out. But thinking about clinical rotations that occur on off shifts, which hasn't traditionally been the model, evenings is plenty of capacity if people want to do clinical training on overnight shifts, 24/7 operation, weekends, and leveraging simulation, sim labs, to actually do more training in a simulated environment so that we can address some of the issues with clinical placements where there are shortages of clinical placement opportunities, I think will be critical. And curriculum design, like for instance in the nursing programs now, all of the pediatric training of students is done in the acute care setting when in fact only small numbers of pediatrics end up in a hospital setting. that maybe look, and very few jobs for new grads in pediatrics, looking at doing more clinical rotations to non-traditional acute care hospital settings, into community health, home care environments, rehab facilities, long-term care. And so really looking at redesigning some of the models for clinical placement. And I will turn it over
Well, that's okay.
to
That's
the next speaker.
incredibly encouraging when it's just the enthusiasm of what's going on. Again, good news. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lois Schiappa, and I represent Cubist Pharmaceuticals, which is based in Lexington, Massachusetts, the home of the American Revolution. My own story is that I have about a 12-year history in biotechnology. I was at a biotech company in Cambridge for about 10 and a half years. And as an HR consultant, I focus on workforce planning and strategic direction and planning, and leadership development and coaching. So at Cubist, which is a company that was founded in 1992 and has approximately 550 employees, both in Lexington and in field-based positions around the country. So what does field-based positions mean? For all of you academics, come on, what does that mean? Field-based means we have a sales force around the country. And founded in 1992 as a research and development company. And in the early 2000s, the drug Cubist was developed through Eli Lilly under another name, and then in-licensed with Cubist and became commercial in 2002-2003 timeframe. So in terms of going from an R&D company to a commercial company, the reason I'm mentioning this is because it requires a broad spectrum of skills in the company. Not only in the life sciences, but also in the business areas. Many of the folks who are in the field, many of the salespeople and people who are called clinical science directors, or in other companies might be called MSLs, medical science liaisons, have a life science background. Many of them have a PharmD background, and rather than use their degree as a pharmacist, go into corporations either after being a pharmacist or instead of, and participate in the field representing the company, discussing with physicians and pharmacists the drug, the pharmacokinetics of it, etc. So a lot of the positions that the company is looking for, because I've been participating, as Jean has already addressed, participating in the workforce planning over the next several years. The company is expected to grow this year alone, so from now through the end of 2009, grow about 10 to 12%, and that's across the company, although I will say that the largest need is in research. So we're looking for folks at entry level through PhD level with degrees in biology and medchem and organic chemistry, microbiology. There are certainly within that spectrum positions both at the bench and working in program management positions. So as Kevin was writing my speech 5 minutes ago by way of his introduction, one of the areas that he was asking about was the trends that we see. And when someone comes in with a life science degree, a biology or chemistry degree, and spends a few years on the bench, it is conceivable that that person might develop an interest in something more. So rather than creating a depth of knowledge in their specialty, might now want to broaden their arena and go into program management roles. Thankfully, Cubist, being wildly successful and in a growth mode, is always looking at, as we recently have, with either in-licensing other companies, molecules, and drugs, or acquiring small companies. So insofar as that's the business model, the company looks at people, or looks for people who can move from the lab area into a program management role. So for folks who are interested in what are the training opportunities, if you are offering certificate programs or even coursework in program management, perhaps as we listen to some of the other panelists who might be representing biotech companies and pharmaceutical companies, you'll see a theme that this is going to be a growing need in a biotech and pharmaceutical industry. The other area where folks who have a good foundation of life sciences can branch out in a biotech company is in business development legal department, regulatory affairs. Again, it's using that strong foundation in any of the life sciences, having a couple of years of experience in that area, and then branching out into some other areas within the same company. So we certainly, I would certainly say that we as a company have a need across a broad spectrum, whether it's in the finance organization, because obviously we've got to have the infrastructure to support the business, whether it's people who want to start out inside and then move into the field-based positions. We have folks from time to time who tag along with our salespeople or our clinical science directors. When I was in another company supporting the sales organization, I was very keen to go with salespeople a few times a year to understand, since they were my clients, what is it like to be a salesperson on the road trying to convince a physician or office staff about the value that your drug offers. So there are a number of opportunities, again, across all spectrum within the life sciences companies that start with a foundation or at least a working knowledge of the life sciences. We were talking a little bit ago, Kevin mentioned the state-of-the-art technology. We certainly do a lot of outsourcing of some of the skill sets because the company can't possibly have all the knowledge it needs all the time. So in the IT department, for example, in the information technology department, there are, from time to time, subject experts who are brought in to work with people in the research organization to scale up the technology that they need and to work with the research organization on new technology that can help them look at data in a more efficient and higher technology level. The other thing that we offer, and Jean had mentioned this as well, is we have a growing, and I have to underscore growing, so it's been very successful, internship program that doesn't only run over the summer, although if you go on our website, there are links for summer applications, and we try to get summer college students and postdocs in to the company during their spring breaks for their interviews. As you can imagine, there's a wide, not a wide, but a growing interest from college students for summer jobs, so we certainly have much more demand than we have supply right now. We also, as some of you know who are representing Mass College of Pharmacy, have a very strong and profitable relationship with that school in the postdoc program in the pharmacy schools. So we're always looking to partner with academia. You know, being only a few miles from Cambridge, we have strong relationships with Harvard, MIT, Harvard School of Public Health. In human resources alone, we have right now 2 intern students, one from BU and one from Northeastern, I believe, who are interested in the human resources function. So again, we have a need for talented people across all spectrums in the business, because it is a business. It's not just focusing exclusively on life sciences.
More good news. We're 2 for 2. Angelique, don't break the record. Here's Genzyme. You're on.
Hi, everybody. My name is Angelique Torres, and I'm actually a member of the University Relations team at Genzyme Corporation. So I have a wealth of information when it comes to the internship program that Genzyme provides that I can share with you. And I've actually been at Genzyme for a little over a year. So in Genzyme years, I'm considered a baby, because a lot of Genzyme employees have been at Genzyme for 10+ years, my supervisor included. And I'm actually glad to be back here. I'm at the alma mater. I actually graduated from Worcester State College. And I am speaking on behalf of the Gen Y generation, because I consider myself a Gen Yer. So feel free to ask me any questions, and I can certainly share my perspective as from a Gen Y person myself. And when it comes to Genzyme Corporation has been around for 26+ years, and we are one of the world's foremost biotechnology companies. We have over 10,000+ employees currently, and our corporate headquarters is located in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I work out of. And in terms of the trends or the positions that we have available. I'll first talk about the full-time opportunities, and then I'll talk about the internship opportunities that we have, as well as the skills needed to succeed at a culture like Genzyme Corporation. In terms of full-time opportunities, Kevin mentioned earlier that our Framingham facilities, there's actually a new manufacturing plant that's being built and is going to be opening fairly soon in Framingham. And with that in mind, I can say that most of our entry-level opportunities would be available in corporate operations, which would be in manufacturing, quality, and also in our science areas. So, research associate comes to mind. Also, some positions as well that would come to mind would be a technologist position as well. And I actually worked out of the Westboro office today, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with Westboro, but Westboro is actually our genetics facility, and they have a growing need for cytogenetic technologists and genetic counselors, which is a very niche market that I think a lot of students are not aware of, and you can certainly expose them to this area of academia that is out there for them to pursue. But that is a very growing need that we see at Genzyme Education. Most of our positions do require 3 to 5 years of experience, so they're mostly for professionals who have had some level of experience. But as I mentioned, those areas of corporate operations and research and science technologists, those are our entry-level positions for recent college graduates that are available. In terms of internship opportunities, last year Genzyme had 181 interns across the United States, most of them being in the Massachusetts area, most of them being in the Framingham facility, mostly in the sciences. And we project there to be actually the same need of interns this year because of the economy. Interns provide a very valuable talent pipeline for our company. We recruit for our internship program in the hope of maintaining a long-term relationship with students so that they eventually come back to our company and they work at a full-time status. So we are projecting to have equal, if not more, number of interns this coming summer. And we've actually started the internship recruiting process right now. Hiring managers are soliciting positions and approvals to get their positions posted and start recruiting for those internship opportunities. In terms of skills needed to succeed at Genzyme, I'd like to highlight our 6 core values. They are entrepreneurialism, drive, innovation, integrity, collaboration, and compassion. And at Genzyme, all of our employees embody those 6 core values to some extent, and it drives everything that we do. The all-encompassing value being compassion, which is the impact is at the patient is actually the #1 mission and priority for Genzyme Corporation. So all we do focuses around meeting the needs of those patients. In terms of an entrepreneurial spirit, we really thrive in risk-taking and taking initiative in everything that we do. When it comes to innovation, we use the most up-to-date technology to meet the needs of those patients. When it comes to integrity, we work under the highest ethical standards. And in terms of collaboration, we consider ourselves a matrix organization, so very cross-functional in that we work across teams together as groups. And as I mentioned, compassion is that very all-encompassing part of our core value that ultimately everything we do is for the patient. And for those of you who do not know, we focus on rare genetic diseases and treatments for those rare genetic diseases, and that's what we do at Genzyme. And then ultimately, for students or any candidate to be successful at Genzyme, we're really looking for that candidate who is well-rounded and multifaceted, and that they not only have the practical skills needed to do the job, but some people make the differentiation between hard and soft skills. But I prefer to call them practical and people skills. So we're really looking for candidates who are well-rounded that can not only do the job, but they have the people skills, including the communication, relationship building. Genzyme Corporation is a culture where if cannot build relationships cross-functionally, you will not succeed at Genzyme Corporation. So we're really looking at for those two core values and characteristics for people to succeed at Genzyme Corporation. Without further ado, that gives you a nice little snapshot of the full-time opportunities available, trends in that, the internship opportunities, and the skills needed to succeed. And I'm looking forward to answering any questions you may have.
Angelique, you're not only a great representative of Genzyme, but also Worcester State College. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be back. I actually stopped by the Student Center across the way before the event to
There you
say
go.
hello to some of my mentors over there.
Good for you. Good. Diane.
Good afternoon. My name is Diane Bennett, and I've been working at St. Vincent's for over 30 years, so I think I overdid everyone over here. Just a little bit about myself. When I first started working at St. V's, I started out as a secretary and realized that that wasn't for me. Went back to school. We have a great benefits program, and became a recruiter, and I've been a recruiter now for over 9 years. So it's been very challenging for me. To talk a little bit about the hard-to-fill positions, again, regarding nursing, we at times turn away nursing because, again, we have so many nurses that are knocking on our doors. Again, new grads that are applying. So, again, we can put them into the med-surg areas and a lot of those areas. But some of the specialty areas like infants and babies, and mothers and infants and stuff like that, those are the areas there that we're trying to fill that some of the nurses don't have the experience for us to put them into. Some of the other hard-to-fill positions are physician's assistants, surgical techs, areas like that. We did at one point have some issues in our pharmacy department, but again, we have a very good marketing department where in turn, we get a lot of information out there to the public regarding our different areas and stuff, and also to our compensation. That's another area that we always continuously look at regarding our compensation to see where the needs are regarding the salaries and stuff. Are we paying higher than or lower than Baystate or our other nursing facilities and stuff? So again, looking at all of that. Looking at all of that. And that's where we get, in turn, we make some changes and stuff, in having to make the necessary adjustments regarding our staff and our new hires coming on board. Along with that, we also have, for future planning, we are opening up, we've got 5 new satellites that we've opened up, which is called Physician Services for St. Vincent Hospital. We have our satellites in Westboro, Auburn, Sterling, Shore Drive, and there's another one I can't think of. So again, this in turn, we hire our physicians, medical assistants, secretarial needs, receptionists, and stuff like that in those areas too. I know I'm jumping around a little bit. Regarding our internship program, we have our internship through our volunteer department. She in turn handles any of the students that are interested in doing an internship, goes through our volunteer department, works with them, gets in touch with the school, because again, a lot of with our areas too, we need a contract with our schools, with the various schools to do any kind of internship program. And then in turn, what they do is they just put them out to the different areas, let's say with radiology, nursing and stuff like that. So we do have a very good internship program at St. V's. The other thing that we also do regarding some of our students that we hire that are going through the clinical program, let's say in radiology or in pharmacy and stuff like that, where they have to do the rotation. What we've done in place is we have put together a pharmacy tech position or a radiology student tech position. So as they're doing their clinicals with us, we're also going to be hiring them. So again, this really helps us in hiring those students afterwards into a position. Along with that, we also do it with the nurses too. When the nursing students are going through the programs and stuff, we hire them as PCAs. And then in turn, after they've done their rotation and have graduated, they get their license, and in turn we hire a new physician. So as for various openings, we don't have too many, so we're doing quite well. And especially now too with the way the economy is and stuff like that. I think I did everything. Yes,
You know, it's
no?
interesting how you talked about the change of in the outposts. You know, it's a new part of delivering healthcare now. People are not going to the hospitals. They'd rather, you know, and the specialty care going out. So there's a new trend that we're feeding into with employees and people out in the areas. You know, we've always looked at the hospital. That's an interesting point too. So you have traveled and crisscrossed the state for several months now. I'm sure you have a great perspective. Please.
Thanks. Thank you for inviting me to be here. Thanks to Posse for inviting me to be here. And thank you to Maureen and others here on the campus. I've been here since this morning, and there are some just amazing and fantastic things going on here. So thank you. Let me just say very quickly, for those of you who are not familiar with the Massachusetts Life Sciences Initiative, and I hope that's no one in the room, just in case you are, the Life Sciences Initiative is really the result of a partnership between the governor and the legislature to make sure that this cluster of industry segments which represent life sciences, and that's biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, bioinformatics, devices, and diagnostics, continue to thrive and to grow here in Massachusetts. They've grown already at a rate that's 45% faster than other parts of our economy. So this was a very visionary initiative on the part of the legislature and the governor to say, let's keep them healthy and growing. And I think you can hear from the panelists' comments that's a wise investment. I'll say very quickly that workforce development is one of our top initiatives. When we began this initiative, we spent time traveling around the state. We did a formal study of workforce needs in the Commonwealth, and workforce development is one of our very top initiatives. I'll just say very quickly, though, the other types of things that we're doing to help with job creation are to support infrastructure around the state that helps companies like Genzyme grow. We gave a grant to the town of Framingham that enabled them to upgrade their sewer and wastewater management capabilities. That enabled Genzyme to build their facilities. So we're really coming at job creation and workforce development in a number of different perspectives. But let me just tell you a couple of things I've been hearing from our study of workforce development as I'm traveling around the Commonwealth, what we at the center are trying to do in response to those, and how we're trying to support you in your various efforts. You've heard touched on a number of times, and we've heard it as well, the need for skilled workers. It doesn't necessarily mean PhDs, doesn't necessarily mean postdocs. The Commonwealth does very well in the production of PhDs and postdocs, with no offense to those very, very skilled workers. But when you talk about other very, very important sources of job creation in the Commonwealth, I'm especially happy to be here in Worcester, because from the central part of the state west is where we find many of our biomanufacturing companies. We find our device companies. We find our diagnostics companies. They need very, very skilled workers, but not necessarily at the doctoral and the postdoctoral level. They're looking for very skilled bachelor's level employees or high school graduates. Staff who can pay great attention to detail, have great technical skills. There is a huge need for these type of workers. And very often companies around the state are being left to fend for themselves to really find these types of skilled workers. So we at the center really want to partner with the colleges and universities and vocational schools and the community colleges around the Commonwealth to make sure that we've got a good supply of those skilled workers well distributed across the Commonwealth. Curriculum development, I think Kevin made a great point. It's not always about lots of brand new programs. I think you've heard the panelists talk about. Often it's the integration of your current programs. Life sciences need a variety of skill sets integrated. So it's not just science and math, it's technology, it's engineering, it's law, it's business. I often hear, scientists are not always good business people, but we want to encourage our entrepreneurs. So thinking of ways to better integrate the curriculum, for those of you who are here representing academia, it's often the integration and the nexus of the curricula as they come together that really create the skill sets that are needed to support what the life sciences industry cluster needs. Internships, and you've heard my colleagues on the panel talk about this. We really need to make sure that students have practical skills so that they come out of their academic settings with an understanding of the context in which they will apply those skills when they go to work in companies. We're going to our board tomorrow at the center to request funding for an internship challenge where we hope to fund up to 200 interns this summer. The challenge is that we're going to match companies like a Genzyme that already have intern programs. We'll match their funds. We'll double the number of internships that they offer. But for other companies that, because of the economic times, could make a great internship experience available, if we can't afford the stipend, the center will pay for the stipend. So please be on the lookout. We'll be doing a lot of emailing to all the universities, colleges, vocational schools, and companies. And our website will serve as the clearinghouse for bringing the students and the companies together. Another important issue, collaboration. We at the center really want to fund collaboration between companies and academia and the types of consortia that you have right here in Worcester, among the Worcester colleges. We want to make sure that all of you are working together collaboratively to produce the right skill set so that there is not redundancy, that every academic institution is playing the very best role. So please think about us as a funding source for some of these types of activities. And finally, connecting the dots. I mean, that's something that we at the center are open to do, but it's something that I think is very important for all of you who are here representing either companies or academia to think about. We really need to make sure that we are finding and understanding where the students are around the Commonwealth, where we can outreach, how we can put students and companies together. And that requires efforts on all of our parts. So look forward to your questions, and again, thanks for inviting me to join me there.
That's terrific. The theme coming through here is not only in healthcare, but economics. I mean, it's really intertwined that we're feeding the economy, but let's not lose sight of all the great work each of these organizations are doing, whether it's drug discovery or within the healthcare field, using amazing technologies that drive the healthcare system. And now we have a healthcare and let's say an economic giant at the other end of the table. Baystate and St. Vincent. We have with us Pat. You're up.
Yeah, I'm Pat Webb. I'm at UMASS Memorial Healthcare, and I have to take a little tiny exception in that UMASS Memorial is the largest healthcare system in the
I wasn't going to say anything.
That's all good news, though, that's definitely say. We have about 13,500 employees. The system encompasses UMASS Memorial Healthcare, Memorial, and University campus. We have Clinton Hospital, Marlborough Hospital, and Alliance Hospital. We also have hospitals and various home health, various entities that are part of the program. I have been in healthcare for, I'm a baby at UMass. I've never thought of myself as a baby in a long time, in that I've been there about a year now. I was at Boston Medical Center for over 10 years. I'm a native Floridian, and it is cold here. But I have been here about 10 years and worked in healthcare in Raleigh, North Carolina. Our story is very similar to my colleagues from Baystate and St. Vincent in that we have also done an assessment of the workforce in the future. And we are definitely, the good news is that we will lose many positions our areas of focus will also be in surely the physician and nursing and the allied health areas. All of those are in the long term are going to be issues. But I think in addition to that, the whole technology thing, healthcare is transforming in that almost every area in the institutions that we work in, technology is very key, and some of our colleagues have talked about that. So the whole issue around clinical engineering and information technology. The other areas that are going to be crucial to us, we tend not to, from a global perspective, think about the purchasing, supply chain, those types of careers are very important in the healthcare field. One of my colleagues mentioned legal, compliance, that is extremely important. We are looking for leaders in healthcare, public health. All of those are very crucial opportunities for folks in healthcare. I think the thing that we are concerned about is, one, the shortage, but more importantly, that the folks, our people that we're recruiting need to have the skill set that we're needed. And as we look at 5, 10, 15 years and make sure, as Susan has indicated, the curriculums have to incorporate those skill sets that we're going to need. And we are very challenged now in terms of my bias is that in our industry, particularly in healthcare and hospitals, we have not done a good job in educating our young individuals on the different careers. They know about doctors, they know about nursing, but they really don't know about some of those areas that are very lucrative and that's where the jobs will be. So I would really ditto what was said in that area. As we look at some of the soft skills, and Angelique, if you ever want to know how you can take a Gen Y person, and we are dealing 4 generations in the workforce today, and some of our challenges are trying to deal with the whole diversity and inclusive, and not just diversity from a racial, ethnic perspective, but that whole Gen X, Gen Y, baby boomers, and type of thing. And as we look at that, we are developing, as everyone else is doing, programs to deal with that. I think the other part of that is the whole soft skills. As we look at trying to have better leaders, and that every organization needs great leaders, some of those skills are problem solving, critical thinking, analytical skills, team building, some of the things that are going to be crucial. One that I like as I talk to is the whole skill set in terms of interpersonal relationship skills are extremely important to success in any of the areas that we've talked about. We have started the process of expanding internships. One of our interns, Afakoma, is here today, and she'll be also, we're looking to have an administrative fellow position where we take post-master's individuals and we help them and they become healthcare leaders, which is so important. As you look at the tenure of CEOs in healthcare, it becomes shorter every day. And that's because, one, it's a tough job, but also the skill sets that are needed to run a hospital or a healthcare institution are going to be different 5, 10 years from now. It's not going to be the traditional route that individuals have taken. So we need to, as we think about curriculums and training and developing people, one asset that we have at UMASS Memorial, UMASS Medical School is our partner in this. So there are positions, we have research positions that are extremely important. So the good news is that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. We will be looking for folks. Today it's a little challenging because, as with St. Vincent, if I said, how many people we recruit today? We are recruiting, I tell you, we do have positions, but we aren't just thinking about this point in time. We're thinking about 3, 5, 10 years from now, what needs to be done to fill that pipeline. And that's where the opportunity is, and it's an exciting thing, but I think we have to do a lot to prepare people to take those roles and educate people about what those roles would be. So I'll be glad to further answer questions as they come.
Well, you know, we've been just blessed with the talent here, and I really, talking about the various experiences, I thought Pat was going to be the crescendo, and she said she was the baby. I think she was going to announce that she was born at UMASS. That would have really finished the. Anyway, this is your time now. You know, you've heard a lot, and I think very succinctly, each piece being put together was very encouraging news. But you know, there's an old line from The Lion King. You know, change is good, and I think that permeated through all of this discussion about be ready for it because it's happening, and it's happening even more so within the healthcare and the biotech and biomedical fields at a very rapid pace. So it's those students who are learning and moving and adapting to it to fill the needs that we have to keep us going not only from healthcare, but an economic point of view. So let's throw it out for comments or questions or things that you heard. Who's